Hey there, welcome to the channel. If you're looking for the perfect way to unwind and drift off to sleep, you're in the right place. Tonight, we've got a whole hour of some of the most interesting and emotional Reddit stories from crazy family. Dramas to heartwarming moments to help you relax and escape the day. So get comfortable, let go of your worries, and let these stories carry you into a peaceful sleep. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoy this, and make sure to subscribe for more stories to relax to in the future. Now let's get started and dive into tonight's tales. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's fall asleep together. Enjoy. I, 34F, have been raising my niece Lily, now 12F, since she was 5. The short version is, my older sister, Jenna, 38F, had Lily when she was 26 and was never what you'd call stable. She bounced around jobs, had issues with substance abuse, and dated some truly terrible men. When Lily was 5, she called me crying from a neighbor's phone one night while Jenna was off on a bender with her then-boyfriend. That was the last straw. I called CPS. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but it turned out to be the best thing for Lily. When CPS investigated, Jenna was found unfit. They gave her a plan to follow: treatment, job stability, parenting classes. But she kept messing up. I stepped up and asked for custody. I wasn't even a mom, but I loved Lily more than I thought was possible. I was already the one who picked her up from daycare half the time and bought her school clothes and made her meals when Jenna couldn't. When the court granted me guardianship, I cried for an hour in my car. For the last 7 years, I've been Lily's mom in every way but name. She calls me Mama when we're alone, even though legally I'm still her aunt. I got her into therapy. I enrolled her in a better school district. I took a second job at one point just to pay for her after-school dance classes because she loved it so much. Every major decision, school, health, discipline, I've made them. Jenna has seen her a handful of times in that span, usually when she's trying to look good for the courts or our parents. Speaking of our parents, my mom, 66F, and dad, 67FM, have always enabled Jenna. They have a blind spot for her, like she's still their sweet little girl, and not a grown woman who abandoned her kid multiple times. They were furious when I called CPS. They said I humiliated the family and ripped Lily away from her mother. They eventually calmed down when they saw Lily thriving, but I always knew they resented how things went down. Fast forward to a few months ago. Jenna had been relatively quiet for a year or two. Then she resurfaced out of nowhere, claiming she's clean, sober, has a steady job, and is living with a good guy who wants to be a father to Lily. She started messaging me constantly, asking for more time with Lily. I was cautious. She said all this before, and it always ended with her disappearing or getting arrested. But then my parents started pushing too, saying it wasn't fair that Jenna only got supervised visits, that she deserved a second chance, that I was the one keeping Lily from her real mom. I tried to stay calm. I told them Lily's therapist said she was only just now developing a strong sense of safety and consistency, that bringing Jenna back into her life full-time would likely undo years of progress. They said I was playing doctor. I said, fine, talk to the actual doctor. They didn't. Then 2 weeks ago I got served. Jenna is suing for full custody. I was blindsided, absolutely floored. I called her and said, what the hell are you doing? And she said, you've had your turn. She's my daughter. It's time for her to come home. I asked her if she even understood what Lily wanted. She said Lily was just a kid and didn't know what was best for her. My heart broke when I told Lily. She started sobbing. She said she didn't want to go live with her mom, that she barely remembered her, that I was her real mom. I held her while she cried and told her no one was taking her away without a fight. I hired a lawyer immediately. Here's where things really exploded. My parents sided with Jenna. They claim she's worked hard and that I need to let her move on and rebuild her family. They said they'd testify that I was manipulating Lily to turn her against Jenna. My own mother accused me of kidnapping her grandchild. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told them if they testified against me, they were no longer welcome in Lily's life. That's when the group text started. My mom, my dad, even our uncle and a few cousins, saying I was being selfish, that Jenna had changed, that I was using Lily to fill a void in my life because I never had kids of my own, that I was clinging to someone else's child. The worst part? Jenna started showing up at Lily's school. She didn't take her or try to make contact, thank God, but she was parked outside in her car a few times when I came to pick Lily up. I told the school, and they agreed to keep a closer eye on things. But Lily noticed. She started getting anxious, scared to walk out of class alone. She stopped sleeping through the night. I documented everything. My lawyer is putting together the timeline, the supervised visitation reports, the therapist's letters, everything. But the court date is still 2 months away, and every day I feel like I'm walking a tightrope. The stress is eating me alive. My parents haven't backed off. They sent Lily a birthday gift last week, a package with a card that said, "Can't wait to have you home again." She cried when she read it. I threw it in the trash. So here I am dealing with legal fees, betrayal from my own family, and a terrified 12-year-old who just wants to stay in the only home she's ever felt safe in. And yet, there's a part of me that wonders, am I the... Not legally. I know I've done everything right. But emotionally, am I the a-hole for drawing a hard line with my parents, for refusing to let Jenna try again, for keeping Lily away from people who are technically her family? Am I turning into the gatekeeping villain they think I am? Or am I just doing what any decent parent would do? I, 32F, have always been the caretaker of the family. Not by choice exactly, but because someone had to be. My parents had me fairly young, and by the time I was 10, my younger brother, Mark, now 28M, had come along. He was always kind of a handful, temper tantrums, impulsive decisions, disciplinary issues in school, but my mom used to say, he's just got a lot of energy. I, meanwhile, was expected to do well in school, keep an eye on Mark when they were at work, and eventually help him with his homework when he started falling behind. This dynamic continued into our adult lives. Mark never really grew out of the chaotic energy. He bounced from job to job, dropped out of college after 2 semesters and lived at home until he was 27. My parents always had an excuse for him. He's still finding himself. He's just figuring things out, and he's got big dreams. Meanwhile, I was working a full-time job, paying rent, and chipping in to help them out whenever they needed something. Utilities, repairs, even covering Mark's car insurance once when he got into an accident and forgot to pay his premium. I love my family, but it's been exhausting. Still, I tried to stay supportive. I thought maybe eventually Mark would get it together. Then my dad passed away 2 years ago. It was sudden, a heart attack while he was out walking the dog. It was devastating. My mum shut down for a while, and I stepped up even more, managing the funeral arrangements, handling paperwork, helping her get into therapy, and making sure Mark didn't completely fall apart. He acted like he was grieving deeply, but within a few weeks he was back to smoking weed on the couch and talking about a startup idea he had with some guy he met at a bar. Now, here's where things start spiraling. About 6 months ago, my mom sat me down and told me she was thinking about selling the house. She said it felt too big without Dad and too full of memories. I supported her. She got the house appraised, it was worth more than we expected, and she planned to downsize and move into a smaller condo nearby. I told her that sounded like a fair good plan, and she even said she wanted to give me and Mark each a portion of the money from the sale once she moved. I didn't expect anything big, and I wasn't counting on it, but it was a nice gesture. I just wanted her to be comfortable and have a fresh start. A month later, she called me crying. The house had been sold, but she couldn't move into the condo she wanted. Someone had made a higher offer, and she was now in a bidding war. I told her not to worry, that another place would come up and she had time. Then she dropped this on me. Mark had moved into the new condo. I was confused. What condo? The one she hadn't bought yet? No, she said. He had used her money to buy a different one. One he picked out. Apparently my mom had taken the money from the house sale, roughly $400,000 after paying off the mortgage, and given all of it to Mark. He used it to put a down payment on a sleek 2-bedroom place downtown and used the rest to invest in his startup. My mother was now staying in a rented apartment with a friend because she didn't want to be a burden. I was floored. She tried to defend it. Said Mark had potential, and this was his shot to build something. Said he needed stability and a place of his own, that I was doing fine on my own, and Mark just needed a little help. I asked her where she planned to live long-term, and she shrugged, said she could manage, that maybe she'd move in with Mark if he let her. I was livid. I asked her if she remembered all the times I helped her, all the times I bailed Mark out of messes, all the birthdays I spent alone while she and Dad were off dealing with one of his emergencies, all the holidays I hosted at my place because they didn't feel like cleaning. I reminded her that I was the one who got her through Dad's funeral, who sorted his estate, who made sure she kept the pension and insurance. She just said, "You're stronger. You always have been." That's when I stopped calling. I didn't yell. I didn't text angry rants. I just stopped engaging. Fast forward to last week, my mum's birthday. I wasn't going to go. I'd made plans with friends, but then she left a voicemail, teary, saying she missed me, asking me to come by. I caved. I figured maybe she'd had time to reflect. When I got there, it was a surprise party for Mark. He was standing there grinning like an idiot. The whole apartment, yes, the one he bought with our dad's house money, was decorated with balloons that said, "Congratulations," and "So proud of you." Turns out he'd gotten a small loan approved for his startup and decided to turn Mum's birthday into a celebration for himself. She laughed it off, saying, "We all know he wouldn't have planned his own party, and he deserves it." That was it. I turned around and walked out. My mom followed me into the hallway, asking what my problem was. I told her, "I'm done. This isn't just favoritism anymore. This is betrayal." She said I was being dramatic. That family supports each other. That I was jealous because Mark was finally doing something with his life. I told her she could enjoy her son and his fake startup, and to lose my number until she figured out how to apologize. Since then, I've had relatives call me cold, heartless, ungrateful. That Mark needed it more, and it's just money. But it's not just money, it's the principle. It's the years of being overlooked, overworked, and expected to carry everything while Mark gets handouts and parties. So now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole for walking out of the party and cutting off contact with my mother and brother over the house money and years of favoritism? Am I the a-hole for walking out of my own birthday dinner after my dad gave my sister my inheritance early? Behind my back, I, 26 ma'am, have always had a complicated relationship with my dad, Mike. He and my mum split when I was 6. It was a bitter divorce. Ugly custody battles, police visits, therapy, the works. I stayed with my mum and he eventually remarried when I was 9. His new wife, Lisa, came with a daughter from a previous relationship, Jasmine, now 25F. From the moment they moved in together, it was like my dad had been waiting for a new family. Suddenly I was the weekend kid, the guest in his home. He went from helping with my homework and taking me to the park to handing me off to Lisa while he took Jasmine to dance rehearsals or soccer practice. The first Christmas we spent together after he remarried, I got one gift, a book on building character, while Jasmine got a pink bike, a karaoke machine, and a puppy. I don't think he hated me. I think he just didn't know how to deal with me anymore. I reminded him too much of Mum, or of the life he wanted to forget. He tried sometimes, I guess. Took me camping once. Came to my 8th grade graduation, but it was never the same. I always felt like the outsider. I kept my head down, focused on school, worked part-time jobs in high school, got into college on scholarships. I visited him less and less. When I did, it was tense. Lisa still acted like I was some sullen stranger. Jasmine, meanwhile, became the golden child. Daddy's girl to the core. Now, fast forward. My grandfather, Dad's father, passed away 2 years ago. He and I were close. Very close. He was the one who taught me how to fix cars, how to tie a tie, how to treat people with dignity. When he died, I was devastated. At the reading of the will, it was revealed he had left a significant inheritance, around $300K, to be split between me and Jasmine with a clear stipulation. Mike may not access or distribute these funds independently. They must be held in trust until both recipients reach the age of 25. My grandfather knew what my dad was like. He anticipated problems. I was grateful and touched that he had looked out for me even after death. I turned 25 last year, and got my half, 150K. I didn't blow it. I put most into savings, used some to pay off student loans, and invested a little into a small online business I run on the side. Jasmine just turned 25 last month. So imagine my surprise when I show up to my birthday dinner, something my dad actually organized this year. First time since I was maybe 15, and Jasmine is already there, sitting with him, beaming. She pulls me aside before we sit down and says, "I just wanted to thank you. I didn't know you told Dad it was okay to release my half of the inheritance early." I was like, "What?" She looked confused. "Dad said you signed off on it last year, that you thought it was fair I get access early since you already got yours." I felt like I'd been punched. I didn't sign anything. I hadn't even spoken to my dad about Jasmine's inheritance. I immediately confronted him, right there in the restaurant lobby before we were seated. He tried to wave it off, said he'd spoken to the bank, that he handled it, that Jasmine needed the money more than I did. I said, "You stole $150,000 from me." He got defensive, said he didn't steal it, he just redistributed it a little early. Claimed Jasmine was struggling. She had just moved out, had debt, wanted to start a boutique business, and I was doing fine. He said he assumed I'd be okay with it because family helps each other. I asked again, point blank, "Did you forge my signature?" He said, "You're being dramatic." That was my last straw. I turned to Jasmine, who looked like she'd just seen a ghost. I said, "I hope you enjoy the money. You won't be hearing from me again." And I walked out. Didn't eat. Didn't say goodbye. Just left. My phone exploded afterward. Lisa sent a barrage of texts saying I ruined dinner. Jasmine called 3 times, crying, begging me to understand. Dad left me a voicemail saying I embarrassed him in front of the whole family, and that this is why we have problems. I've since contacted a lawyer. Turns out he did forge a document. It wasn't my signature, but he misrepresented information to the bank managing the trust to get early access. It's messy, and we're still figuring out what legal actions I can take. But I've also learned that most of the money is gone already, used for a down payment on Jasmine's business and to pay off her loans. Now, I feel stuck. Angry, hurt, violated. My mum is furious on my behalf. My lawyer says I have a case, but suing my own father and stepsister feels heavy. Everyone on that side of the family is calling me selfish, saying I'm prioritizing money over family. But I didn't ask for this. I didn't touch Jasmine's share. I just wanted what was left to me by my grandfather. I feel like I lost that money, my last link to my grandfather, and any remaining shred of trust I had for my dad. So Reddit, hi the a-hole for walking out of my birthday dinner and cutting off my dad and stepsister after they stole my inheritance. Edit update being 1. Jasmine's side. Jasmine swears she didn't know it was illegal or unauthorized. She thought I had signed off and that the trust had simply been released early because I was generous. Honestly, I almost believe her. But she didn't ask me. She just took the money and spent it. Legal proceedings. My lawyer confirmed we can sue both my dad and the bank for breach of fiduciary duty. The trust had clear age requirements. It never should have been released. Early without proper authorization, which wasn't given. The bank may try to settle. Emotional fallout. I haven't spoken to Dad since. He's now blaming me for ruining Jasmine's life because she may have to liquidate her business to pay back damages. I don't feel guilty. I warned them. I gave them a chance to be honest. They weren't. Mum's support. She's been amazing. She was the one who told me to lawyer up. She said, "If your grandfather were here, he'd be raising hell. You're honoring him by standing up for yourself." Fas. Final thought. People like to say, it's just money. But it's not. It's trust. It's legacy. It's the principle of the thing. I didn't walk out of that dinner because of money. I walked out because I realized my father would betray me for his favorite child and never think twice. Am I the a-hole for refusing to change my wedding venue after finding out it was originally booked for my sister's secret wedding? I, 28F, am getting married this fall to my fiancé, Adam, 30M. We've been together for 5 years, engaged for 1.5, and wedding planning has been both beautiful and a total nightmare. mostly because of my family. Growing up, I was the oldest of 3 kids. My sister Danielle, 26F, and I were never super close, but we weren't enemies either. We just had different personalities. I was the quiet, studious one. She was loud, social, and more into fashion and popularity. We had our fights over the years, but nothing major until now. Here's some important context. My mum, 58F, has always obviously favored Danielle. It wasn't always malicious, but it was noticeable. From small things, like who got to sit in the front seat, who got new, clothes versus hand-me-downs, to bigger things like who got more help with college. I worked part-time while studying and had to take out loans. Danielle went to a private school, and Mom covered almost everything. When Adam proposed, I was ecstatic. He's kind, grounded, and supportive, and my family seemed to like him. Or so. I thought. We started planning a modest but elegant wedding. We saved, budgeted, and chose a gorgeous historic estate just outside our hometown for the venue. It's a beautiful restored mansion with gardens and a reception hall. Booking it took forever. We locked it in about a year in advance because it's super popular. Everything was going fine until about 3 months ago. Danielle came over looking pale and withdrawn. She said she had something to tell me. Then she dropped the bomb. She and her boyfriend of 2 years, Kyle, were already married. They had a secret civil ceremony last year while traveling in Europe. They planned to tell the family eventually, but wanted to have a proper wedding with friends and family later, once they had the money. I was surprised, but not upset. I said, "Congratulations. Why didn't you just tell us?" Then she said, "We actually had a venue booked for our real wedding, but you're using it." I blinked. "Wait, what?" Apparently, Danielle and Kyle had booked the same exact venue a few months before Adam and I did, but then cancelled their wedding plans when COVID travel delays wrecked their finances. They didn't lose their deposit, but postponed the wedding indefinitely. But here's the kicker. My mum was the one who had booked the venue for them, and she never told me. I only found out about the estate because of a random recommendation from a co-worker. I toured it, loved it, and booked it through the public calendar, completely above board. When I told my mom I'd booked it, she just said, "Oh, nice choice." She didn't mention a thing about Danielle ever planning to use it. Back to Danielle. She asked if Adam and I would change the venue so she and Kyle could use it like they originally planned. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She said, "It was supposed to be my dream wedding. I imagined walking down that garden path for years. It's hard seeing you have it instead." I said, "Danielle, I didn't even know you booked it. Why didn't you say anything when I told you I chose it?" She just shrugged and said, "I didn't think you'd actually go through with it." That pissed me off. Then my mom called, and instead of defending me, she said, "Honey, don't you think it would mean a lot to your sister if you gave it up? You could find another venue. You're more flexible." I told her absolutely not. We'd already paid a significant deposit, scheduled all the vendors, and were only months away. Changing now would wreck everything, not to mention we didn't have the budget to start over. Mom said, "You're being selfish. Danielle's heartbroken. You got your proposal, your big love story. She didn't even get to announce her engagement. Can't you let her have this one thing?" I asked her. "Are you seriously telling me to cancel my wedding plans for a secret wedding you never told me about?" She said, "You'll still get married. That's what matters." I told her, "If Danielle wants a big wedding, she can plan one like I did. I'm not handing her mine." Since then, it's been pure hell. Danielle has blocked me on everything. My mom is barely speaking to me. My dad, divorced from mom, remarried, is on my side but says I should just ignore them until the wedding passes. Adam is livid and says we're absolutely not changing anything. Here's where it gets worse. I found out my mom contacted the venue behind my back. She told them there had been a family emergency and that we might need to release the date. I only found out because the venue coordinator called me to confirm. When I confronted my mom, she said, "I was just trying to help smooth things over." I told her she was not invited to the wedding anymore unless she sincerely apologized. She hasn't. She says I'm tearing the family apart over a building. Now my extended family is getting involved. Some are saying I'm being cruel to Danielle, that she always lived in my shadow, which is honestly laughable. Others think Mom is out of line and that Danielle's entitled attitude is a result of never being told no. Now I'm caught in this storm and I don't even know if I want any of them at the wedding anymore. The venue is paid, the date is set, and I've done nothing wrong. But somehow I'm the villain, so Reddit. Am I the a-hole for refusing to change my wedding venue, even though my sister had planned to use it first, and my mum is pressuring me to give it up? Edit update 1. Venue status. We're still locked in. I confirmed with the coordinator, who flagged my mum's call as suspicious. They said as long as the payments are on time, no one can change a thing. Danielle's situation. Apparently she and Kyle are now planning a redo wedding 6 months after ours. Guess where? At a vineyard 2 towns over. The same caterer we hired. She even tried to book the same photographer, but he declined because he's already booked for our wedding. Family fallout. My mom has doubled down. She says I embarrassed her by telling people she wasn't invited. My aunt, her sister, called to say she's not coming if Mum's not there. I said, okay. Adam's parents are totally in our corner and have offered to help replace any guests we lose with friends or co-workers. Emotional toll. I won't lie. This has drained me. What should have been the happiest time of my life has been clouded by guilt, manipulation, and betrayal. But I keep reminding myself, this day is about Adam and me, not Danielle, not Mom, me. The dress twist. Oh, and one last kicker. I found out Danielle tried on my wedding dress, the same one I had stored at my mom's house briefly. She took selfies in it and sent them to a friend. I saw them on that friend's Instagram story. She captioned it, "Can't believe she didn't pick this one." It was the one. My dress. I confronted Danielle and she said, "I just wanted to see how it looked, chill. It's now in storage at my cousin's house, and I've changed the locks on everything else." Am I the a-hole for telling my brother's fiancée that she wasn't welcome at my wedding because she tried to sabotage my relationship? So this happened about a month ago, and it's still causing shockwaves through the family. For context, I, 28F, got married to the love of my life, Daniel, 29 Mel, just a few weeks ago. It was the happiest, most emotional, and also the most dramatic day of my life, and not because of anything Daniel or I did. It started with my brother, Caleb, 30 Mem, and his fiancée, Tara, 26F. Caleb and I were always close growing up. He was my protector, my best friend, the guy who taught me to ride a bike and sneak cookies without Mom knowing. So when he started dating Tara 2 years ago, I tried hard to like her. I really did. But she rubbed me the wrong way from the jump. Fake. Sweet, overly competitive, and way too involved in other people's business. The kind of person who constantly asks invasive questions and then gossips about your answers. Still, for my brother's sake, I kept things cordial. But things shifted. About a year ago, after I got engaged to Daniel, at first Tara acted thrilled. She asked about the dress, offered to help plan the bachelorette, talked about how excited she was to be part of the wedding. Then came the little comments. "You and Daniel moved fast, don't you think? He seems great. But I feel like he's hiding something. Are you sure he's the one? You've only known him for, what, a year? Red flags, right?" But I chalked it up to her being nosy. Then came the bombshell. Daniel and I were out with Caleb and Tara for dinner one night, and Tara got tipsy. Really tipsy. She started asking Daniel if he'd ever cheated on anyone, if he'd ever thought about cheating, if he'd ever lied to me. It was awkward as hell, and Daniel handled it gracefully, saying, "I'm not sure what you're trying to get at, but I don't think this is appropriate." The next day, she texted me saying I was overreacting and that she was just looking out for me. That's when I started pulling away. I didn't cut her off. I still invited her to bridal events, kept things polite, but I stopped confiding in her. Caleb noticed and we had a talk. I told him honestly, I don't trust her. She's trying to stir things up with Daniel and I don't know why. He defended her, said she was just blunt and that maybe I was being too sensitive. Then came the real betrayal. About 3 months before the wedding, Daniel got a message on Facebook from a fake profile. The account was brand new and had one post, a blurry photo of him from years ago at a party, standing next to a girl who was clearly very drunk. The message said, Just thought your fiancé should know the truth. You've got secrets. You're a cheater. At first, we laughed it off, but then I started getting texts from an unknown number saying things like, "You think he's loyal? Ask him about Lauren, and don't make a mistake you'll regret." It was creepy. I almost called off the bachelorette trip because I was so shaken. Daniel was furious. He even offered to show me his entire phone history, social media, everything. I believed him. But the vibe was ruined. We reported the messages to the police. Turns out they were sent using a spoofing app. Then I had a horrible sinking feeling. I remembered that Tara had once casually mentioned a friend who knew how to make fake accounts to spy on exes. So I did a little digging. I confided in my maid of honor, who is also an IT wizard. She helped me trace the IP address of two of the emails to surprise Tara's workplace. That was the moment I snapped. I didn't go straight to Tara. I went to Caleb. I showed him everything. The screenshots, the texts, the connection to Tara's IP. At first, he denied it, said it was circumstantial. Then he got quiet, said he'd talked to her. 2 days later, he called me in tears. Apparently, Tara admitted to it, but claimed it was just a joke and that she never thought it would go that far. She said she was trying to test Daniel to see if he'd come clean about his past. What past? The man is as clean as they come. I told Caleb flat out, if she doesn't apologize to both of us and explain herself to Daniel, she's not coming to the wedding. She didn't apologize. Instead, she sent me a long, condescending message, saying she regretted getting involved, but if I were more mature, I'd appreciate her efforts. Efforts? She tried to tank my relationship, so I stuck to my word. I told her she was uninvited. Caleb was pissed, said I was punishing him for Tara's mistake. I told him this wasn't about him. This was about protecting my peace. He could still come to the wedding, of course, but if he brought her, they'd be turned away. He didn't come. He boycotted the wedding. My only sibling. My parents were devastated. They tried to stay neutral, but I could tell they blamed me a little. Family forgives, my mom said. It was wrong, but she's young and made a mistake. I said, if Daniel had done what she did, would you expect me to marry him anyway? Silence. The wedding went on without them. It was beautiful, emotional, full of love. But yeah, there was a Caleb-shaped hole in it. I missed him more than I wanted to admit. Now, a month later, things are still tense. Caleb hasn't reached out. My mom keeps saying I need to fix it because a sibling bond is for life. I'm torn. I feel like I did the right thing, but I also feel like I lost my brother in the process. So am I the a-hole for uninviting my brother's fiancée from my wedding because she tried to sabotage my relationship? Edit update 1. What Tara actually did. A few people asked for more details. According to Caleb, Tara created the fake Facebook profile and used a spoofing app to send the texts. She also asked an acquaintance, possibly her tech-savvy friend, to help hide her tracks. The implication was she wanted me to doubt Daniel enough to call off the wedding, or at least cause a major rift. Motive. Honestly, I still don't fully understand it. Some people have suggested jealousy or projection, and I'm starting to believe it. Tara had mentioned once that Daniel was too good to be true. I think maybe she thought she was protecting me in some warped way, or maybe she wanted to feel in control. My parents. They're still trying to play peacemaker. My mom sent me a message this morning saying Caleb and Tara are going through a rough patch and that I should reach out and be the bigger person. I replied that when Tara apologizes to Daniel and me sincerely, I'll consider rebuilding things. Daniel's take, he's been a rock. He said, I married you, not your brother or his fiancée. You did what you had to do. But I know it hurts him too. He didn't want drama. He just wanted to marry the woman he loves. Do I regret it? No. I regret the situation, but not my decision. I would rather have a small wedding filled with love and honesty than a big one polluted by someone who actively tried to destroy my relationship. So, Reddit, what do you think? Was I too harsh? Or did I just protect myself and my marriage? Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my estranged sister stay in our parents' house after they passed? even though she has nowhere else to go. My 35F parents passed away within a year of each other. Dad last spring, Mom this January. It's been a brutal time for me and my younger brother Josh, 31M, especially because we were the ones who took care of them when they were sick. Dad had lung cancer, and Mom had a stroke 6 months after he died. We took turns driving them to appointments, staying over, cooking, cleaning. Basically, we put our lives on hold. My sister, Krista, 38F, didn't. She lives out of state and didn't come when Dad was dying. When we called to say he probably only had a few weeks left, she said she was too busy with work and could maybe fly out next weekend. He died before that weekend. When Mom had her stroke, Krista came to visit once, stayed for 3 days, took a few selfies with Mom in her hospital bed and went back home. Josh and I were exhausted, handling everything ourselves. I took FMLA, leave from work, burned through my savings to pay my bills, and Josh moved in with Mom full-time. Not once did Krista offer to send money, help out, or even ask how we were holding up. After Mom passed, Josh and I agreed we'd keep the house for a bit before deciding whether to sell or rent it. It's a modest ranch-style place in a suburb, fully paid off. Emotionally, it's still our home. We grew up there, and so much of our parents' life was built into it. We were leaning toward renting it out because neither of us wanted to live there again, but we weren't in a rush. Enter Krista. She showed up at Mom's funeral with her husband, Dave, and their 10-year-old daughter. I hadn't seen her in over 3 years. She cried the loudest at the funeral, made this big show of hugging me and Josh, then asked point blank if she and her family could move into Mom and Dad's house just for a while. Josh and I looked at each other like, "Are you kidding?" But we stayed civil and said we'd think about it. Later that night, when it was just the 3 of us, I asked what her situation was. Apparently, Krista and Dave had both lost their jobs during the pandemic. They'd been living with Dave's parents, but the arrangement had soured after a fight. Now they were bouncing between hotels and couch surfing with friends. She said the house was just sitting there, and Mom and Dad would want us to help each other. I told her I wasn't comfortable with the idea. She got angry, said I was being heartless and cruel, and that her daughter deserved some stability after everything. Josh backed me up and said, "You weren't here, you didn't help, this house isn't yours to just take over." She blew up, accused us of being greedy, said we were trying to cut her out of the family legacy. I reminded her that Mom and Dad had left everything to the 3 of us equally, and that if she wanted her share, she was welcome to take it in cash once we sold or rented the house. But moving in? No. For context, Krista has a long history of flaking on the family. She ran off with Dave when she was 20, stopped talking to us for 4 years. When she came back, she was always too busy to visit. She skipped birthdays, holidays, everything. She only ever came around when she needed something, money, a babysitter, someone to help her move. The last time I let her crash at my place for just a week, she stayed 2 months, didn't pay for anything, left the place a mess, and we didn't speak for a year after. She keeps texting me, guilt-tripping me about her daughter, saying I'm punishing an innocent child because of past grudges. She even got extended family involved. My aunt called me crying, saying Krista is at her wit's end, and that family means stepping up in hard times. Josh and I are still holding the line, but it's getting harder with the pressure. Feel for the kid, I really do. But I can't help feeling like Krista made her bed. She ignored our parents when they needed her. She turned her back on us. And now she wants to claim a piece of what she refused to help carry. So am I the a-hole for not letting her stay in our parents' house? Edit, update. A few things have come up since I posted. The will. Several people asked about the legal side. Yes, the house is legally in the names of all 3 siblings, Krista, Josh, and me, as per our parents' will. That means any major decision requires all 3 of us to agree. However, the will also explicitly states that the estate must be handled jointly, and any sibling not living in or maintaining the property is entitled to either a buyout or a share of proceeds upon sale. So she doesn't get to just move in because she wants to. More family pressure. Our aunt wasn't the only one to reach out. A few cousins messaged too, saying things like, "She's a mom, be compassionate," and "It's not like she's asking for money, just a place to stay." One even said, "You're letting a house be more important than blood." I pointed out that Krista had made it about money by demanding to live there rent-free and claiming she was entitled to it. Because we all inherited it. Krista's messages. Her texts are getting nastier. She's said things like, "I hope you're proud of yourself choosing bricks over your niece. Mom would be ashamed of you. If you were struggling, I'd open my door in a second." That last one made me laugh. She never did that in the past. When I had surgery years ago, she didn't even call. Josh's stand. Josh is standing firm. He said, "If you give her an inch, she'll take the house." We've both seen how she operates. If she moved in, we'd never get her out. Han trying to evict her would be a nightmare, especially with a child involved. The kid. A lot of people brought up the kid, and yeah, I feel awful. She's innocent in this, but I'm not her parent. That's on Krista and Dave. If they really can't find a place, there are social programs, shelters, housing assistance. They've had 2 years since COVID started to get back on their feet. And they still have other options. They just don't like them. Final update. After a lot of back and forth, Josh and I made our decision. We're renting the house out. We already contacted a property management company and started the process. We gave Krista official notice that we won't be allowing her to move in and that she's welcome to claim her share of rent proceeds or a lump sum when we eventually sell. She lost it. Sent one last long message saying we were killing what little family we had left. I didn't respond. Neither did Josh. I talked to a therapist friend who said something that stuck with me. Boundaries feel like betrayal to the people who benefited from your lack of them. That hit hard. I spent years feeling guilty every time I said no to Krista. But I'm done. I'm not closing the door forever. If she gets her life together, apologizes, maybe one day we can rebuild something. But I'm not sacrificing my peace, my security, or my sanity anymore. So Reddit, was I the a-hole? I, 29F, married my husband, Daniel, 31M, 3 years ago. We met at a mutual friend's wedding, had instant chemistry, and started dating within a week. He was funny, charming, and came from a huge, loud, close-knit family. I grew up pretty differently. Just me, my mom, and my younger brother. My dad left when I was 7, and my mom worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. We weren't poor exactly, but money was always tight, and there wasn't a lot of room for big family dinners or vacations. So when I started spending weekends at Daniel's family's house, it was a bit of a culture shock. They have Sunday, dinners every week, barbecues for every minor holiday, a WhatsApp group chat that's constantly buzzing. They were friendly enough to me at first, though I always felt a little like an outsider. I chalked it up to nerves and tried my best to fit in, bringing dishes to dinner, remembering everyone's birthdays, babysitting nieces and nephews when someone needed help. Things started to shift after Daniel and I got engaged. His mom, Sylvia, 62F, went full mother-of-the-groom mode. She insisted on helping with wedding planning and kept inserting herself into every conversation I had with vendors. I'd say I wanted blush pink table linens. She'd show up the next week with swatches in burgundy. I wanted a DJ. She booked a string quartet as a surprise. Daniel kept telling me to just let her have fun with it, but it was making me crazy. We finally got married in a beautiful ceremony, despite Sylvia's attempts to change the seating chart the night before. And for a while things were good. We bought a house, got a dog, started building our life together. I got pregnant last year, and we were over the moon. Then the real drama started. Daniel's sister, Rachel, 36F, had been struggling with infertility for years. Multiple failed IVF rounds, a miscarriage at 18 weeks, a failed adoption, all of it heartbreaking. I sympathized with her, truly. But when I announced my pregnancy, she barely looked at me. Sylvia burst into tears and walked out of the room. I thought they were happy tears until I overheard her in the hallway telling Rachel, "We'll get through this, this should have been you." That stung. Over the next few months, the tension got worse. At family dinners, no one asked about my pregnancy. No, how are you feeling, or do you know the gender? Instead, everyone tiptoed around Rachel, and I was treated like the elephant in the room. One time I brought ultrasound pictures, and Sylvia actually turned them face down on the table. Daniel brushed it off, saying they were just sensitive, and I should give them grace. When I hit 35 weeks, I was diagnosed with preeclampsia and admitted to the hospital. Daniel stayed with me, of course, and our daughter Maya was born via emergency C-section 3 weeks early. She was small but healthy, and we were ecstatic. I texted photos to the family group chat and got silence. Not a single congratulations. Not even from Sylvia. 2 days later, while I was still recovering in the hospital, Sylvia showed up, not to see me, but to talk to Daniel in the hallway. He came back looking pale and weirdly quiet. I asked what was wrong and he said nothing. I pressed and he finally admitted that Sylvia had asked if Rachel and her husband could be Maya's godparents. I said, absolutely not. She won't even look at my daughter. Daniel told me I was being unfair, that Rachel was grieving, that this could be a way to heal. I said, it's not my job to help her heal through my child. We went home and I tried to move on, but the red flags kept piling up. Sylvia kept asking for photos for Rachel. Rachel started sending us baby gifts with her name stitched on them, blankets, a personalized onesie that said, Aunties, Girl, a framed poem titled To My Daughter in My Dreams. It was creepy. I asked Daniel to set boundaries. He said I was overreacting. Then came the bombshell. One night I got up to feed Maya and realized Daniel wasn't in bed. I found him downstairs on the phone with Sylvia. He didn't notice I was listening from the stairs. I heard him say, I know, Mom, I know she doesn't deserve this, but she's her mom now. I can't just give her up. I confronted him right then. He panicked, tried to say it was just a figure of speech. I pushed harder, and finally, after half an hour of screaming and crying, he confessed that Sylvia and Rachel had suggested, multiple times, that maybe it would be better for everyone if Rachel adopted Maya. Their logic? I wasn't emotionally connected enough to the family. Rachel had always wanted a daughter. She had the resources, the support, and the deepest need. Sylvia had been pushing Daniel to consider doing the right thing and letting Rachel have this one blessing. I was absolutely shattered. I packed a bag that night and took Maya to my mother's house. I told Daniel I wasn't coming back until he cut off Sylvia and Rachel entirely. He said I was being cruel, that they meant no harm, that they were just grieving in their own way. I filed for a legal separation a week later. Now I'm in the middle of a custody battle. Daniel has moved back in with his parents. Rachel has filed a petition to seek visitation rights as a psychological maternal figure. Yes, that's a real thing. My lawyer is on it. Sylvia has been calling me a monster to anyone who will listen, saying I've torn the family apart and kidnapped their grandchild. My own husband, soon-to-be ex, is begging me to drop everything and let things return to normal. As if any of this was normal. I've lost almost every friend I made through his side of the family. I've had to change my phone number because Sylvia kept giving it out to sympathetic relatives. One of them showed up at my work, demanding to see the baby. Everyone's acting like I'm the villain for keeping Maya from her family. Like I'm the crazy one for refusing to let my daughter be passed around like some consolation prize. But still, deep down, I wonder, am I the a-hole for blowing up my marriage and cutting off his entire family? For not giving them a second chance? For not having more empathy for Rachel's pain, even if it came out in horrifying ways? Would a better person have tried harder to forgive? Would a better mom have stayed and fought to make peace? Or is protecting my daughter from people who see her as a placeholder the only thing that actually matters? I, 35F, have been married to my husband, Noah, 36M, for almost 10 years. We have 2 kids together, Emma, 8F, and Leo, 5M. From the outside, our life probably looks pretty ideal. Nice house, stable jobs, I'm a nurse, Noah's an engineer. 2 well-behaved kids, a golden retriever, all of it. But what people don't see is how much of that image depends on me keeping the peace, even when I'm screaming inside. The root of the issue is Noah's twin sister, Natalie, 36F. From the minute I met her, she's always had to be the center of everything. Noah calls it twin energy, or says she's just protective. But honestly, she's overbearing, manipulative, and boundary stomping. At first, it was little things, Natalie insisting on joining our dinner dates, making passive-aggressive comments about my clothes or cooking, giving me weird backhanded compliments like, "You clean up nice for a nurse." I didn't say anything at first. I was new to the family, and she was his twin. I didn't want to be the girl who couldn't handle it. But it never stopped. When we got engaged, she threw a fit because we didn't let her plan the entire wedding. She offered to officiate, even though she isn't ordained. She tried to wear a white dress and only backed down when Noah finally told her no. When we announced our pregnancy with Emma, she posted her own photo with a caption about how she couldn't wait to be a mommy's twin. She even threw herself a baby shower with games, gifts, and a cake that said, "Auntie, Natalie, Marwan mom's twin." I begged Noah to talk to her. He said, "She's harmless, just let her feel involved." After Emma was born, things got worse. Natalie insisted on being in the delivery room. When I said no, she pouted and didn't speak to me for a week. She showed up at our house the next day anyway, and stayed for 6 days. She tried to tell me how to breastfeed, how to swaddle, how to put Emma down to sleep. When I asked her to stop, she cried and said she just wanted to bond. That became her go-to, emotional blackmail. If I set any boundary, she'd accuse me of cutting her out, ruining the twin bond, trying to take her brother away. Noah always tried to smooth things over, but never actually stood up to her. I think he's scared of her, to be honest. Their mom died when they were young, and Natalie basically became the woman of the house. She's used to being in charge of him. When Leo was born, I decided I was done being polite. I told her no visitors for the first week. She showed up anyway, banged on our door until Noah let her in, and held Leo for 2 hours while I was trying to sleep. I kicked her out. She called me a selfish bitch and said I was breaking up their family. For the next year, we barely spoke. I hoped maybe that was the end of it, but then came the biggest bombshell. About 6 months ago, Natalie got engaged to a guy named Eric. He seemed decent at first, quiet, mild-mannered, a little nervous. She asked Emma to be a flower girl and Leo to be a ring-bearer. I was hesitant, but I said yes. I figured it was better to try and make peace. That lasted about a month. One night, Emma came into our bedroom crying. She said Auntie Natalie had told her that Mommy's not the only mommy, and that Auntie might get to keep you one day too. I asked what she meant, and Emma just sobbed and said Natalie told her secrets. I confronted Natalie the next day. She laughed it off, said she was just playing and that Emma was sensitive. I told her to stay away from the kids. She told Noah I was turning his children against her. Then Eric called me. He was apologizing. He said he didn't know how to handle what he found on Natalie's computer. She had dozens of fake family trees saved on her desktop, all showing her as the mother of our kids. She had Photoshop files where she'd replaced my face with hers in our family photos. He found printed emails she'd written to lawyers, asking if there was any legal way to remove a sibling-in-law as a guardian in case something happened. She also had a journal. In it, she had pages and pages where she referred to Noah as her partner in spirit and wrote about being their true mother and cleansing the family of outsiders. Eric said he was scared, that she was unwell, that I needed to protect myself and the kids. I went cold. I went absolutely cold. I called Noah at work and told him everything. I sent him screenshots. He didn't say anything for a long time. When he finally came home, he looked destroyed. Said he couldn't believe it. Said he felt like he'd lost his other half. And then he asked me not to press charges. He said she just needs help and that we should handle this as a family. I lost it. I screamed at him, told him I was done playing peacekeeper, that his silence had allowed this madness to go unchecked for a decade, that our daughter had been threatened, that our son could have been taken. I called a lawyer, filed a restraining order, pulled the kids out of school for a week, changed the locks, installed cameras. I told Noah if he contacted Natalie without telling me, we were done. He moved into the guest room. Since then, our marriage has been hanging by a thread. He's cold, detached, refuses therapy, says I'm blowing things out of proportion and punishing him for his sister's sickness. But I'm scared. I sleep with the baby monitor on, even though both kids are well past that age. I triple-check.
Det gillar Spanditis koninget bektutute eke hirsche.
Natalie has gone radio silent. She deleted her social media. Her wedding is off. Eric dumped her and moved out of state. But I know she's still out there watching. Waiting. Last week, my Emil's old friend messaged me on Facebook, said I was being cruel, that Natalie was just lonely, that she never meant to hurt anyone, that I should let the twins heal. I blocked her. But now I'm left with this pit in my stomach. Am I the a-hole for going nuclear? For breaking up Noah's only real family bond? For not being more compassionate to someone who's clearly mentally ill? Or am I just a mom who finally did what her husband never had the guts to do? Protect our kids no matter the cost? Because if that makes me the a-hole, maybe I don't want to be anything else. I, 28F, have been with my fiancé, Marcus, 30 matters, for 4 years, and we got engaged last spring. For the most part, our relationship has been solid. He's thoughtful, intelligent, great with kids, and has this quiet, dependable vibe that makes everyone feel like they can lean on him. I loved that about him, still do, honestly. But the past few months have flipped my entire world upside down, and now I don't know if I'm standing my ground or ruining someone's life. The issue centers around Marcus's younger brother, Elijah, 26M, who's autistic. He's high-functioning, extremely bright, a math whiz, but socially very rigid. He has a lot of rituals and quirks, and his world is very small. Marcus and Elijah were raised by a single mom, Diane, who passed away suddenly 2 years ago. After that, Marcus became Elijah's legal guardian. When I first met Elijah, he was polite but distant. He didn't like being touched. He was very sensitive to noise, and he didn't speak unless spoken to. Over time, he started opening up around me. He even began asking for me when he had questions or needed help with something that wasn't routine. I liked him. I was happy to be included. When Marcus proposed, I was thrilled. We started planning a small but beautiful wedding. Nothing too extravagant, just close friends and family. That's when the first conflict arose. Marcus told me he wanted Elijah to live with us after the wedding. I froze. I hadn't expected that. At the time, Elijah was living alone in their childhood home, with Marcus checking in every day and a caregiver visiting twice a week. It wasn't perfect, but it seemed to be working. I asked why we needed to change that, and Marcus said he was worried about Elijah's long-term well-being. He wanted to bring him into our family home, so he could be safe and loved. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that. We're planning to have kids soon. I work long shifts at the hospital and often come home emotionally drained. Our house is small, 3 bedrooms, but one is my office and the other would be the nursery. The idea of permanently sharing our space with someone who needs routine, quiet and constant attention stressed me out. Marcus said I was being selfish, that Elijah wasn't some stranger. He was family. I tried to compromise. I suggested we find a better apartment for Elijah, closer to us. I offered to help with finances, even look into full-time caregiver options. But Marcus shut all that down. He said he promised their mum he'd take care of Elijah, that he couldn't pawn him off like that. It became a stalemate. I delayed the wedding planning, hoping he'd cool off. Instead, he doubled down. He started bringing Elijah over to our place more and more often, unannounced. They'd show up while I was working or while I was trying to rest, or even when I had friends over. Elijah wasn't rude, but he'd pace constantly, rearrange things in our kitchen and get visibly agitated if anything was moved from where he thought it should go. One night, I came home from a brutal 12-hour shift to find Elijah asleep, in our bed. Marcus said he'd had a meltdown and needed comfort, that he let him nap in our room because it was the only place with soft lighting and weighted blankets. I was livid. I said I was exhausted and just wanted my bed. Marcus snapped at me and said, "He's struggling and you're acting like it's an inconvenience." I told him it was an inconvenience, that I felt like a guest in my own home, that I loved Elijah, but I wasn't ready to commit to this life. Marcus didn't speak to me for 2 days. Then came the final straw. We had dinner at Marcus's aunt's house. She's kind of the unofficial matriarch and a big supporter of Marcus and Elijah. During dinner, she raised her glass and made a toast to Marcus and me for their beautiful future and to the loving home they're creating for Elijah. I almost choked. I pulled Marcus aside afterward and asked him what that was about. He looked guilty, said he'd told his family that Elijah would be moving in with us after the honeymoon. I asked why he hadn't told me. He said he knew I'd fight it and he was hoping I'd come around. I broke off the engagement that night. I told him I couldn't trust him anymore, that he made a huge life decision for both of us, without my consent. That love wasn't enough if he saw me as the obstacle to his vision of a family. He begged me to reconsider, said he'd do anything except give up on Elijah. I walked away, packed a bag, stayed with a friend, told my family. Everyone supported me, except my older sister. She has a son with special needs and she tore into me, said I was cruel, that I should have known what I was getting into, that I used Marcus until it got inconvenient, that this is why disabled people end up institutionalized because people like me don't want them around. Now it's been 2 months I haven't spoken to Marcus. He sent me one long email saying he respected my choice but hoped I'd one day understand. I still think about him all the time. I still love him. But I also feel like I was being erased, like my boundaries didn't matter, like my life plans were negotiable because of someone else's needs. Was I the a-hole for walking away from a man who put his brother first? Or was I right to believe that love has to go both ways, even when it hurts like hell?